The process is simple. The ingredients, pure.
It's cocoa beans and sugar.
But what you can't see, that sweet aroma filling the room. Exquisite, decadent, and that taste.
Chocolate definitely makes me feel good.
But this Victoria chocolatier says that it's what you can't smell and taste that makes Sirene Chocolate exceptional.
We're all familiar with chocolate, but then realizing that there's this whole level underneath this that's not the industrial chocolate that we're familiar with.
Taylor's an explorer.
It's a very tough business.
For this, he left a safe, sweet job of 18 years as a globe-trotting photographer for National Geographic.
People would probably be right to call me insane.
He's still shooting, but he's decided to switch focus, sticking closer to home and his young family.
I sort of tumbled into this rolling snowball down a hill, and I ended up with this.
But Taylor's also a businessman, crunching numbers 5 years before crushing his first cocoa bean.
Good chocolate is critical, but that's where you start.
Necessity has made him the inventor, too.
The bean-to-bar chocolate world is so small and so brand new that most of this machinery doesn't exist.
So he built this cocoa bean shelling machine. Because unlike most confectionery companies, Sirene doesn't just make chocolates. They actually make chocolate.
Chocolate has an incredible depth to it.
Making marvelous bars starts with sumptuous cocoa beans.
So you're definitely looking for a needle in a haystack when you're trying to find good beans.
Scouring the globe, he's found the perfect beans.
Madagascar, Bolivia, Ecuador, and Guatemala.
Taylor says that chocolate was likely a happy and tasty accident.
A cocoa pod off a tree is not a tasty object.
The ancient Maya and Aztecs, he says, drank their chocolate instead of eating it, but the chocolate-making process hasn't changed much in a few thousand years. After the grower harvests the pods, the cocoa beans are fermented in the pod's fruit and then dried before shipping.
These are the Madagascan beans. Each bean that I work with is completely different from the other ones. These are beans from Trinidad.
Each bean brings with them flavors of fruits, florals, nuts, and more.
And these are the beans from Ecuador. The beans have very different personalities, and you need to encourage different traits to come out.
Chocolate making then becomes a rich blend of science and art.
The way I roast it, the way I process it, the way I grind it, the way I temper it, everything is very different.
After roasting and shelling the ground cocoa beans, with or without sugar, they're hardened and then aged to mellow the chocolate before it's molded into bars.
It's a fundamentally different product.
The key ingredient?
There's nothing to hide behind. It has to be a good flavored bean.
That depends on teamwork with farmers halfway around the world.
Between the two of us, if neither one of us mess up our share of the work, then we end up with good chocolate.
Award-winning chocolate, the first win for both Taylor and the Guatemalan grower.
We're not quite sure who was more excited, me or the farmer.
Their chocolate selling locally and around the world.
Like fine wine, except a fraction of the price.
Taylor says he'll continue to grow his business.
Chocolate has definitely been good for me, yeah.
His chocolate's been sweet for the specialty growers, too.
What that means is that I'm paying the farmer a whole lot more than normal cocoa bean prices.
A fair trade.
I want to make things better all the way along the food chain, but I want to give them something that's way better and much different than what they're used to. Chocolate has been fun. It's been a fascinating journey so far.
A smooth, tasty transition for this explorer turned chocolatier in Victoria. I'm Paul Beilstein for ShawTV.